Hello, and welcome to our next episode of the TMG Fireside Chat. I'm your host, John Mackey. In this episode, which actually is going to be a series of little mini episodes, I sit down for my annual conversation with my really good friend, John Demeter, the president of Wesco HMB. And for many of you that listen, you know John through his business. He is also the writer, editor, publisher of the Halon Herald, and he has been on this podcast each of the last 4 years. And we usually have an intro to the year, which is this series, and then we also have at some point towards the end of the year, just a kind of a check-in to see how things are going. Over the next couple days, weeks, so we're going to figure out how we drop these. We are breaking out a 1-hour conversation into a series of little mini episodes. Short form, as they say in the podcast industry. And each of these episodes are going to drop a couple times a week over the next few weeks, and we'll go from there. So hope you enjoy it. Hope you find this information useful, informative, educational, and a worthwhile listen. So from that, let's get rolling. In this episode, 18.5, we're talking about quality control and the future challenges for the industry as it relates to shifting to a recycled market in HFCs, and then also the requirements around NFPA 2001 and the importance of quality testing and standardization for those quality metrics. It's a pretty technical conversation specific to the processes, but for those of you that are clean agent contractors, this is right in your wheelhouse. We will turn it over to you at this point and enjoy the conversation.
Right. So now you test it. All right. So now you put it back in the market. You still can't put a marker on it to know, is it, how pure is it? Does it degrade over time as you go through so many recycle, conditions, right? So is there the opportunity, and I don't know how you do this, but put some sort of marker in it, a chemical marker, a gaseous marker, some color, something to give you some perspective. So, hey, they say on the bottle, this is recycled. It was recycled on this date. So we're putting
we all of the human markers you can do, but you've got to take somebody a lot smarter than me to figure out how do we know that without sampling it and running it through a GC.
You still got to do a GC with it, right? So
when you think of it, the world hasn't produced new Halon 1301 since 1994 in Article 1 countries, and 1998. 2008 in Article 5 countries. And I don't know how much of that 1301 ever really got into the marketplace. But basically, in this country, we haven't seen any new Halon 1301 in almost 30 years, right? That means that the aviation fleet that's up there right now, 8,000 of those, no, 20, I forget how many planes are up there right now.
6,000, like 6,200 planes in a given minute.
That might be okay. Those planes, the Halon 1301 protecting those planes, even if the plane is brand new, has been recycled at least once, maybe more.
Yeah.
The gas in that plane could be recycled 3 times. And I think the FAA is finally getting around saying, hey, we better pay attention to that.
Yeah.
We've been providing data to the FAA for 5 years now, and I think that based on our last HRC meeting, which was attended by the FAA and EASA, I think they finally said, yeah, we get it now. There's a problem up there. Not saying that we'll put the fire out, but you just don't know.
Right. I'd rather lean the other way. It will put a fire out versus just
yeah.
And I think that again, we've got a standard. I'm not. Does Halon fall under 1301, or excuse me, does Halon fall under NFPA 2001, or is that simply just clean agents for FM 200? And
no, 2001 is 1301 is not in 2001.
Okay.
It's
right. So obviously 2001 is very clear as it calls out with regard to the quality of the fluids, right, and the gases, right. And
it says you can't take gas out of that tank and put it in that tank without determining positively that it meets specification.
Yep. Yeah, which I think levels the playing field for everyone. You've got to meet that standard.
Yeah, if they pay attention. We're always going to have that. I think here's going back to our first subject, which is talking about the benefits that the large roll-ups bring, is that there's a risk there in not meeting spec. In our industry, there's a risk to trying to dodge a regulation that just might cost you some money or delay in your doing. And I think the owners of these large roll-ups, they're not going to stand for that. They're going to say, don't test it. They're going to say, we are not going to skirt this thing, right? And the general managers, they're not going to risk it. If it's their company, I say, all right, take that tank and put it in this. But if they're the general manager of a Summit-owned company, no way in the world are they taking that risk.
No.
They shouldn't anyway. Why take that risk?
No, and we've got a code and standard that says, here's the process, right? Follow the process.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a firm believer, just, I don't care whose agent it is, run it through the test. Right.
Yep.
And show it, a current letter confirming that it's what it is, what it says.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. And not to be so repetitive, but 5 years from now, the amount of recycled HFCs in the marketplace is going to rise dramatically.
Absolutely.
And in 2030, if there still is an HFC, fire suppression business, everything is going to be recycled.
Yeah. Right.
So it's going to be interesting thing to watch. We're very sensitive to commercial aviation because we spotted this thing, a couple of years ago, and we said, you got a problem there. And we laid out some ways to fix it. And the simplest way is to design a poster and make sure that poster is in the workstation of every MRO that services these bottles, and put it right in front of the guy. So it's seen right there. Here's how you have to handle this thing. But it's going to be an issue. It's not going to go away.
No, but I think, how do you use technology to make it better, right? Because you just made a reference to a poster, right? How do you, put some barcoding or some chip technology on that bottle?
Oh, that would, yeah.
It shows up
Well,
in a
the other
recycler
recommendation
or
was
some facility, you ping it.
that every bottle that comes out of a manufacturer, whether it's Kitty or Megan, there should be a label on there that says recharge only with certified recycled, that meets this specification.
Absolutely. And here's one thing that's interesting though. So, and I'm not going to tell you who the manufacturer was to tell me this, but I said, why can't I use your label, your barcode or your QR code on your unit? And I take it my phone, and as an AHJ or a fire protection contractor, I should be able to say, here's the last inspection report. Right?
Yeah.
For the device. And here's what, who did it and whether or not it's compliant. Well, isn't it the role of the tag? I said, why do I have to rely on a paper tag on a fire extinguisher or a sprinkler system or whatever? Yeah. Let's use technology. So use the same approach with the bottles to say, and the manufacturer said, I don't want the liability for not getting inspected. I said, that's not your job. That's not your responsibility. It's the building owner. Yeah, but if I put, a step in the process on the bottle, then I'm responsible for the inspection.
Yeah.
Which I thought was short-sighted, and I challenged him on that. But
well, thank you for listening to this episode of the TMG Fireside Chat. Hope you found that information, the discussion, worthwhile and informative. Like we do with all socials, please like, follow, share on whatever platform you're watching or listening to this on. It helps to continue to get the word out and spread the network, or spread the word, if you will, and get the network wider across the industry, and for those that are interested in listening. For any notes associated with this podcast, you can find them on your listening platform, either the intro that you had for the podcast and or the notes for the YouTube channel. With that, so thank you again. Really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we'll see you in the next round. Have a great day. Be safe.